I'm Audrey, a program manager for the Scientific Innovations Programs at the Massachusetts Life Science Center, or MLSC for short. We invest in impactful projects, and we support the infrastructure, like cutting-edge facilities and lab equipment that drives life science breakthroughs forward. We help turn bold ideas into scientific breakthroughs that benefit everyone. Today, I'm excited to highlight a company that's advancing one of the most urgent and underserved areas in healthcare, women's health. Joining me is Dr. Uros Kuzmanovic, founder and CEO of BioSens8, a startup reimagining how we monitor fertility and hormone health. So BioSens8 is developing novel biosensors that provide real-time hormone monitoring, offering a new level of access, accuracy, and autonomy for people navigating fertility, menstruation, and other conditions. Their mission is to bring hormone insights to point of care. BioSens8 first received support from MLSC through the UMass Lowell M2D2 200K Challenge, which is a startup pitch competition where they emerged as a standout innovator. Soon after, they partnered with Boston University and were selected for our Women's Health Collaboration Program, which is a competitive award designed to accelerate high-impact academic and industry partnerships in women's health. So you're also welcome. Let's start at the beginning. Why should we care about our hormone health?
Definitely. First of all, thank you for having me on. It's really an honor to be here, be spotlighted by MLSC. Really a pleasure to have you guys here. We should absolutely care about our hormone health. And that's because hormones regulate almost every critical part of our body's function. Really, everything from metabolism to mood to energy, fertility, immune response, and then our daily stress. So some of these are functions on a daily basis, some that change on an hourly basis, and some which are more long-term for a health span. But when hormones like cortisol, estrogen, progesterone, if they're imbalanced, it can actually lead to chronic conditions. So chronic diseases, fatigue, anxiety, weight gain, and then some really long-term disorders like parts of infertility, right? Heart disease, osteoporosis, right? So hormones have been, I think, overlooked for a long time, and we haven't paid as much attention to them because we just didn't have a good way to read them and look into what their levels are and how our body generates them, how they make them, the levels of them, and how our behavior or diet, for example, or stage of life affects these hormone levels. And then I think connected to this question, we're seeing a movement that's happening, I think, in the last couple of years of people who are more and more interested, excited to learn more about their hormones specifically, but also other biomarkers. And we've seen people want to take more control over their health, their holistic health, and get a readout on their progesterone or cortisol, whatever it may be. And so even more recently, innovative companies like Function Health, for example, where you can get hundreds of tests done on different biomarkers. I think it all points to end users wanting to know what's going on and the current health infrastructure not being able to satisfy that need appropriately. It's such a rigid structure. And I think a lot of times the end users feels like they are left out of the equation of decision making. And so we've heard over and over in the women's health space, women that feel like they're not heard, women that feel like they don't know what's going on with their bodies, women that want to take more control and ownership on their body and health state. And the current infrastructure just doesn't allow folks to do that very well. And so it's been an extremely exciting last couple of years, last 5 years, I would say. And specifically this year, we've seen a lot of movement from companies to try to address this, I would say, power imbalance between insurance companies, pharma, physicians, and then ultimately the end user who's left trying to get the care.
Absolutely. And being more informed about their hormone health can help them feel more involved in their healthcare.
Exactly.
What inspired you to start BioSens8? Maybe tell us a little bit more about the story behind the name, and then what gaps in hormone health are you looking to close?
I felt like this was a space where we needed to make change on a US level, but also a global level. I always had this desire to create impact. I think that was most important. So I actually came to University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, studied biology, chemistry there, and worked on myotonic dystrophy research very early on. But I felt like it was very specific, and the impact wasn't as far-reaching as I had hoped. At the same time, towards the end of my undergrad, I participated in something called iGEM, International Genetically Engineered Machine, right? The whole idea was to engineer microbes to tackle the world's biggest problems. So healthcare, climate. It was there that I realized the power of engineering microbes to tackle healthcare issues. And that's where it started to come together, that we could use some of this technology to level inequalities. I had to basically find a research home when I started my master's. And I was looking at folks I could work with at Boston University. I actually had a meeting with a professor there, James Galligan. I was basically tasked during my PhD to build a platform to find these novel sensors so we could build these products. And so in 2020, we finally wrapped up our first demonstration of that story. And so the next natural step was to commercialize. And so we published in March 2020. And then I think a few weeks later, literally COVID hit. I got on the phone with James and we said, this is real. We should push this forward. Let's do a startup. So we thought about who would be the right team members, who would be the right personnel. And we incorporated at the end of 2020. It was at that time that James asked me to step up as CEO. And so for 21 and 22, I was doing my PhD and growing the company as well, which was extremely difficult. A lot of sleepless nights. I had to figure out what it meant to be an entrepreneur, what it meant to be a CEO, and how to get funding and how to grow this thing, how to take it out of the lab. And managed to defend my PhD at the end of 22. I'm fortunate to get distinction for that, and then also raise about just over $400,000. And so then I was able to spin out full time into the company.
Essentially 2 PhDs.
It felt
Your
like
PhD
it. It felt
and
like
then also another.
It felt. It was a hard moment. And then since 23, full time and trying to grow this the past 2.5 years. And so fortunate to be here at the engine, fortunate to have about 10 folks involved, raised close to $2 million now, entirely non-dilutive funding. And we filed our first patent end of last year, just a spin out of our platform, and just getting closer and closer to wrapping up that development stage and getting to the manufacturing. But not without the help of MLSC. So,
Well, as our values really closely align here, that we also believe that advancing women's health is not just a niche, that it's an essential investment in, like you said, equity and innovation.
Exactly.
Historically, women have been underrepresented in research, and many health concerns that disproportionately affect women have been chronically underfunded. And BioSens8's partnership with Boston University is a really powerful example of that mission in action. So can you tell us more about your collaboration with Boston University, and what has that partnership meant to you and your research and development?
Yep, it's been huge. I just want to say, before I get there, I do want to highlight some other parts of MLSC that have been really critical for us as a company to grow. Like you mentioned, in those early stages where a lot of institutions or investors might not jump in to help. So I think you mentioned before the 200K challenge in 22. That was our first interaction, or first instance of support. The internship challenges in 24 and 25. Women's health breakfasts where we meet and collaborate with other groups that are working in the space. It's such a fantastic program. So for us as a company, one of our key milestones is to demonstrate accuracy in patient samples, patient sample testing. And so this grant has helped Boston University and DAMP Lab specifically set up a CLIA certified lab.
Wow.
And I think they just got recently a top of the line Abbott instrument that can run multiple panels of biomarkers from like a venous blood draw. And so it's really the perfect instrument for us to benchmark our products and our tests against.
Okay.
It's much more than that for the Boston and Massachusetts community, actually, because what we're setting up is a central location that can do testing for the broader community. It's just been a fantastic initiative. So we are trying to build that in the early stages and be one of the first users of that testing facility, but it's so much more than just BU and BioSens8. It's really meant to be open to the whole ecosystem.
Absolutely. And part of the award was also hiring a postdoctoral researcher too. So
Right.
can you tell me a little bit how that training went and what value the postdoc brought to your project?
Definitely. So part of that, as you mentioned, was the hiring of a postdoctoral researcher. So we actually hired one from UC Santa Barbara, and they were so excited about our mission that they escaped paradise in Santa Barbara and came all the way to Boston with us. So his name is Connor. So he's been a great help to our mission and what we're doing. And he is specifically tasked and engaged with improving the sensitivity of our sensors, coordinating this testing, this accuracy study testing. One of the programs I wanted to highlight again was the internship challenge. So last year we did it for the first time, and it was such an amazing program where we had 2 interns come on board, and they did truly a fantastic job. But basically, we were able to hire them through this program, and actually, it went so well that Allison and Yash's work, and Yash was more of the initiative after summer, he was doing what's called digital twinning, so simulating our wearable in the digital space. And actually, because of that work, we took that work and got a grant from the FDA for $300,000. Continue that effort. That's been incredibly helpful for us to continue doing that work. And so it's just an example of how an intern can be so impactful. And for us, it was important to keep talent here, I think, instead of them having to go out to another state or maybe overseas through the summer to do their internship.
So it helped accelerate your research while also creating jobs in Massachusetts.
Absolutely. It's so good to build in Massachusetts. There aren't so many other states which offer these resources or which offer the help that MLSC does.
Can you share more about the technology behind your biosensors and how you envision people using this in their daily lives?
Definitely. I'm glad you guys came to see it in person and meet some of the team members. I'm really excited by what we're doing. Actually, even now in the next couple of days, getting some really world's first data sets. So continuous hormone sensing over a number of days and trying to translate that into real product that will be on folks that need it most. But to your point about the platform, that's where we started as a company, and what I thought was the most critical step and what makes us innovative and different from every other company out there. So when we look at companies like a Dexcom or Abbott, who are behemoths in the space and truly innovative, we can still bring something new to the table and say we are truly unique in this aspect. What we're building, and the platform allows us to do that and say that. So it was critical to building our first product addressing women's health for progesterone and estrogen monitoring, but it's also going to be critical to building other products like it. We have a cortisol monitor as well in the pipeline, and can think about other biomarkers, other sensors we want to build depending on what our partners are interested in. But to your question of where I see this going, it's my vision that everybody is wearing, it maybe sounds cliche, but everybody is wearing this because it's giving a live data stream of your body's function. And I think it'll be a critical component of the future of healthcare. So it's measuring multiple biomarkers at the same time, this product that we're trying to build, and then thinking about closed loop systems where basically you're measuring what's going on with your body, but then also providing, if needed, a drug or medication going on basically like an autopilot. So
In response to
right,
what your body is doing.
exactly.
Do you see this also communicating with someone's physician as well?
Absolutely. This isn't meant to take physicians out of the equation. Extremely important And so keeping them very close through the whole journey, having them at a moment's notice being able to help or aid. I see this as being a tool and a guide to help us get the best outcome, right? So our physicians are experts. We don't want to lose that.
Absolutely. Well, as someone who oversees MLSC's investments in infrastructure and innovation, it's really inspiring to see how programs like these can help early stage startups grow and scale solutions to directly improve health outcomes. So, what's next for BioSens8? You touched on it a little bit, but where do you hope the technology goes from there?
I think this next phase for us is extremely exciting. So we are trying to work with strategic partners right now
Mhm.
and fundraise for our next stage of growth, really, which is I see it as four stages. So wrapping up development, small scale manufacturing, piloting with our partners, our pilot partners, fertility clinics that are truly excited to get this product, and then FDA. So we have a regulatory component as well. So that will be over the next 2 years. And so right now we're gearing up for the raise and basically finding the right partners that are aligned with the vision and want to get this product to market.
Absolutely. Well, BioSensei is showing us what's possible when we combine smart science and deep commitment to increasing health outcomes and supporting the community. We're proud to support your growth and excited to see how the technology continues to transform the landscape of women's health. So, thank you so much